part of the Press Play Podcast Network.
And welcome to another Reghi and Roda podcast powered by MGM Northfield Park right here on the Press Play Podcast Network. And a shout out to our producer extraordinaire, the man who makes this all sound good, to all of you out there in the podcatosphere, the one, the only, you know him, you love him, you can't live without him, at least Reghi and I can't. Ty Court's our producer, so thank you, Ty. Without you, nobody would hear this, right, Reg?
Isn't that the truth? You said it all right there.
So, Reg, we begin tonight on a good note, right, with the Browns getting another home victory. They are now, I believe, 6-1 at home after beating the Jaguars 31-27 today to improve to 8-5. And Joe Flacco getting the job done, throwing for 3 touchdowns in the win today to put them as the lead wild card spot through 13 weeks of the NFL season.
Yeah, Kenny, and I looked back and I thought 8-5, let's see, with used to be 16 game, now 17. So 4 games to go now. This is the Browns. This is their second best start since they came back in 1999.
Is it really?
The only better start was 9-4, about only 3 seasons ago in 2020, but the second best start. 2007 squad also began 8-5 after the first 13. So, Kenny, you just said it. Look, home games, yes, the Browns are playing extremely well at home, but they're must-have. You can't lose a home game now. You just can't. I mean, it's that is not going to be conducive to where everybody wants this in January, which is hopefully a deep playoff run for the Browns. So it wasn't pretty at times today, but the bottom line is when those 60 minutes, or if you have to play more in overtime, doesn't matter. Regardless, when it's all said and done and everybody shakes hands and walks off the field, you got to have that W. And then you worry about all the things that you need to clean up during the week on the practice field and in the meeting room. But they got the W today, and the 4 turnovers notwithstanding, there were moments that, you wonder, why is the ball on the ground so damn much today? Or, Joe Flacco with a couple of errant throws. But, Kenny, we asked last week, and see, this is why. I think you and I know I did. I think you did too. When we discussed, should they Dorian Thompson-Robinson or Flacco? Well, you got to go. You had to go with Flacco, right? Because I don't care. He's 39 years old. He's been through all of this before. And the thing for me, Kenny, as long as he's still got, I'll say 95% of what that arm talent was, which it is. I don't think you worry about the arm capabilities with Joe. You go with him and you live with it coming down the stretch because he can win football games with a passing attack, which you got to have in this National Football League. So, solid win today for the Browns, and Flacco throws for over 300 yards again, and a couple of touchdowns, and hopefully maybe the turnovers get cleaned up this week before the Browns go out again next week.
And the good news after the victory, more good news, I guess, Reg, if you're a Browns fan, right? Joe Flacco named the starter for the rest of the season for the Cleveland Browns. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. It took him, I guess they wanted to see back-to-back efforts like this from Flacco before they named him the starter, but they have for the rest of the season. So that's one less thing we have to worry about during the week. Who's starting? Is DTR going to get us? No, they're going to use him in small packages like they did today, right? Usually running packages. Flacco's going to be your starter. And here's the thing, Reg. There were 7 turnovers in the game today, right?
Yeah.
The Jaguars turned it over 4 times. The Browns turned it over 3 times, but that's a +1. And anytime you're in the plus category, right, on turnovers, Reg, that is a good thing, and that usually betters your chances of winning. So we wondered who would have the edge, Schwartz or Peterson, after they coached together in Philly, now going head to head. Well, Jim's made the Schwartz be with you. And it was with the Browns today, and they win the turnover battle today. And that is a necessity for a team that up to this point, Reg, I believe today, when you add the 3 in today, 27 turnovers on the year for the Browns offense, which was tops in the National Football League. Well, moving forward in these final 4 games, if they want to hold on to the top wild card spot, right, they are going to have to win the turnover battle in games against Chicago, Houston, New York, and Cincinnati. And all 4 of those are very winnable games now that you have what looks to be a legitimate NFL quarterback at the helm.
No question about that, Kenny. And for all the things we go back and forth about, whether they're the turnover issue as we are right now, but Ken, this is now the 15th time that, and we know he's an offensive guy. I took a look at this in his head coaching reign. This is the 15th time that the Browns have put at least 30 points on the board. Okay. With Kevin Stefanski at the helm, you know what the record is in those 15 games?
I'm going to guess 14-1.
No, not quite that good, but 12-3.
Well, I'll take that, right?
And Ken, to me, now listen, again, you put 31 points up, 30 points up. You're supposed to win football games in the NFL.
Right.
And the Browns have the defense that, as we know, there have been a couple of clunkers, that one in L.A., was that last week or two? Last week.
Last week, yeah.
Yeah, that one in L.A. last week was not good on the defensive side of the football as Matthew Stafford picked them apart. But, look, again, so, Stefanski at home has won in a big-time way. And, show me a team that doesn't win above 500 and convincingly above 500. Well, you're not going to get anything accomplished. That because we know it's tough to win on the road in the National Football League. So, for that, I like the fact that they seem to offensively be able to get things done now. And you got the passing game with Joe Flacco. So, hey, let's see where it takes them, right? 8-5, you got a chance to, say you win 2 or 3 more. Well, you're going to be in the playoffs. And hopefully it's with the type of seed that maybe keeps them at home, Ken, for a couple of games at least. That's key, wouldn't you say right now?
Yeah. Here's the thing. They have to win the division to get a home game in the playoffs, because the top seed gets a bye, and then the next 3 divisions play the 3 wild cards. Now, should there be a couple of upsets, right, where 2 wild card teams win and you're the lead wild card team, then okay, you could get a home game. So the only way, they're 2 games behind Baltimore with 4 left, right? Baltimore's got the best record in the AFC at 10-3. Kansas City, another loss today. Buffalo kept their playoff hopes alive with that big win on the road in KC. So for the Browns, like I told you before, if the playoffs were to start today, you would have a rematch in Jacksonville against the Jaguars. Both are 8-5, but Jacksonville is a division winner. You're the lead wild card as 7 teams make it in the playoffs. So I don't know if they can catch the Ravens, Reg. So it'll be tough to get a home playoff game unless you get lucky in the first round and somebody else knocks off one of the other division winners. Yeah, no, that, of course, that goes without saying, and that's what it's going to take more than likely. No, I don't see the Ravens with 4 to go blowing a 2-game division lead, right? For the home game. So no, probably not. So what the Browns need to do, though, is, come up with that 5th seed, as you were talking about, right? Yep. And if somebody were to get upset, one of the division leaders, then maybe you would get the home game. So got to finish strong, though. I mean, that's for a lot of reasons. You want to go into the playoffs, and I mean, to me right now, sitting at 8-5, Kenny, wouldn't it feel good if, we're talking about 3 wins in the last 4 to wind up 11-6?
because that would put them that definitely would get them that I would think definitely would get them that top wild card and at seat number 5.
And how about this for Flacco? He becomes the 4th different starting quarterback to win a game for the Browns this season. That is a franchise record. That has never happened before in the history of the Cleveland Browns, going all the way back to when they entered the NFL, maybe even go back to the AAFL. So Flacco gets it done. So that's Flacco, PJ Walker, Dorian Thompson-Robinson, Deshaun Watson, all with at least one win as a starting quarterback for the Cleveland Browns. And Flacco also, let me put my cheaters on here, Reg. You got some of these similar notes, right, from the Browns? Yeah. Flacco, all right, goes 26 of 45 for 311 with 3 TDs. He becomes the first Brown to throw 3 touchdown passes of at least 30 yards in a game since Brian Sipe, Super Bowl. Brian Sipe back in December of 1980. I mean, that's 43 freaking years. Joe that? Flacco did something that hadn't been done in that long. Super Bowl. I mean, that's pretty impressive for a guy that was sitting on his ass for most of the season, right?
Yeah, and I like the fact that you got a guy that has been through all of this, Ken.
Yeah.
You go back and look at his many years with the Ravens. He has been through, Kenny, any playoff scenario you can think of. Home, road, having to come from behind in the second half and the fourth quarter, getting out to big leads in tough road environments in the playoffs. As we know, getting to and winning the Super Bowl. So, listen, I like all that. I like all that because there's not anything that is going to phase him or I think get him off the game pace that he wants to play in, Kenny. And I don't think you can emphasize that enough in this National Football League with your quarterback, especially because we're talking about January football now.
Yep.
That's what the mindset is, and it actually starts right now. These next four regular season games. It's almost like playoffs started right now, right? I mean, you can look at it that way. Yeah. And I like the fact that given all of the damn quarterbacking turmoil that we've had to deal with here, that you got a guy like Joe Flacco that has, like the kids say, been there, done that, and you can rely on him. I'll take that, Kenny, as a start.
I didn't like the pickup when it happened. I thought he was ancient. He was old. He looked like a statue in New York last year. And I wasn't thrilled with the pickup. So far, I got to say, hey, looks like he's going to prove me wrong. He's 1-1 in 2 starts, but he's thrown the ball very well. 5 touchdowns. 2 interceptions, right, in his 2 starts. So 1 win, 1 loss. A home game against a very beatable Chicago Bears team next week. Houston playing better football, but they lost today and lost their quarterback, C.J. Stroud, to a concussion. So we'll see how long that lingers. The Jets somehow found a way to win, and Zach Wilson looked like Joe Namath today somehow, some way in that win over the Texans. And then Browning Nagel, or who's the Browning dude for the Cincinnati Bengals? Who the hell's that guy? What's his name?
Isn't it Jake Browning?
Jake Browning, that's it.
Jake Browning. That guy. Browning Nagel. I like it.
He's the second coming of Ken Anderson all of a sudden so hey, Reg, as I'm learning in my gambling exploits, from week to week, I don't know a doodly squat about what's going to happen in the National Football League. Today I got my ass handed to me today.
Not a good day.
No, not a good day at all. Not with the way it lay. But I get greedy and I do the parlays, right? I'll get 1 or 2 right, but you know me, 4, 5, 8, 10 leg parlay. I want to win some money, baby. Pay me some cash. Show me the money. The master of Quan, right? That's what I want, Rod Tidwell. So, I didn't do real well today with the gambling. So,
well, hey, listen, you still got tomorrow night, and then you before you know it, you'll be having multiple opportunities next Sunday. Hell, some Saturday games start this weekend.
I know, right? I can chase the money that way, baby.
Yeah, you can. You got 3 Saturday NFL games now for the next couple of weeks, too.
Yeah, so we'll jump all over that, I'm sure. Man, I thought for sure. Like today, I thought for sure. All right, one of my wagers I made today, Reg. I thought for
anytime you start,
sure.
I thought for sure. You got to know right there that there's probably an issue going to happen.
Right,
but
right.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I thought after the way they played pitch and catch last week, I thought for sure Elijah Moore and Flacco were going to hook up for a touchdown today, right? Yeah. And so I'm out at Jersey's, Stark County Browns backers. And, I left there in the fourth quarter, right? To come home to get set up and everything like that. And I hear Jimmy Donovan. Good to hear him back on the radio again today. Long touchdown pass. Flacco hooks up. And I'm like, finally, yes, he didn't say his name. Then it was the David freaking Bell who caught his first damn touchdown pass of his end. Hey, congratulations, David. But that didn't do me any good. And the Chief and Njoku decided to hold on to footballs today. He caught 2 of them today. So, so next week, I live to gamble another Saturday, Sunday, and Monday of next week, right?
Attaboy. I'll give you the atta way to go, and better days are ahead, man. Yeah, like I said, you got 3 on Saturday to get you all juiced up for a normal NFL Sunday. But you just mentioned something too I was going to bring up today. I like the fact that Joe Flacco he's made it a point, right? To me, it looks like he's making a point. I'm going to let David Njoku know that I'm coming to him 8 to 10 times a game, and I need him to make catches and make some plays for me. I think that's become real obvious with Flacco. And the same thing, it seems like, too, with Elijah Moore going to him. Now, the kid got the opportunity today, and that was a well-conceived offensive play where they had David Bell just without a defender near him as they got him lined up and got him the football, and he eased into the end zone. So all of that is a positive and good to see. Kind of obvious now that third and short, and certainly inside the 10-yard line, they're going to give it to Kareem Hunt in the run game. I like that a lot. So, Kenny, I'm feeling good about what's going on offensively with the Browns here with Flacco at the controls.
All right, Ted. Well, let's do this. We got to get a break in, but I want to come back and talk to you. They're 8-5, sitting in the top wild card playoff spot. I want to talk about MVP of the team this year. Okay. Think about that. Let that marinate, Reg. All right. And when we come back, let's list maybe our top 3 Browns now through 13 games with 4 left as to who would be the MVP, the runner up, and then, the other guy in the on deck circle. So think about that. Right. We'll get a break in here on the R&R podcast powered by MGM Northfield Park on the Press Play Podcast Network. When we come back, we'll give you that. We'll talk more about the playoff picture in the AFC and much more. So stay with us.
What's up, everyone? I'm Holly Wetzel.
And I'm Tyrus Powell.
And we are your hosts of The Orange is Oranger, a Cleveland Browns podcast on the Press Play Podcast Network. We give you all the dog pound coverage that you'll need to get you through the regular season, hopeful postseason, and I'd say off-season, Tyrus, but is there really ever an off-season for this team?
Thankfully for our podcast, Holly, there really never is when it comes to the Cleveland Browns. Don't miss our breakdown of each week's matchup, game recaps, and any and all news out of Berea to feed your Browns appetite. As we know, Holly, dogs gotta eat.
Yes, they do. So hit that subscribe button and never miss an episode of the Orange is Oranger, Cleveland Browns podcast on the Press Play Podcast Network.
Hey everybody, it's Sam Amico from Cavs on the Break NBA podcast. Be sure to give us a listen for all your Cleveland Cavaliers recaps, analysis, breakdowns, draft talk, free agency. The list goes on and on. Give us a listen, Cavs on the Break NBA podcast.
Hey, the Roadman, Kenny Roda here for the Reghi and Roda podcast. And Northfield Park, you've heard us talk about Northfield Park now for a couple of years. They're our title sponsor. Proud to have them on board of the R&R podcast. And if you've not been out to MGM Northfield Park, something wrong with you. You want to have a good time? Want to win some cash maybe and just enjoy yourself? Head on out to MGM Northfield Park and check this out. Live racing every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Saturday, Sunday. That's 5 days a week with that first post time at 6 p.m. And Saturday, December 16th, Santa Sack Fan Appreciation Event going to be happening at MGM Northfield Park. Pick your present prize drawings in races 4, 6, 8, 10, and 12. That's a lot of fun. Santa's reindeer race in races 3, 5, 7, 9, and 11. Maybe Rudolph's nose will glow a little bit. Let's see, the high-low game from 6:30 to 7:30. They got the dice game from 8:30 to 9:00. What I'm telling you is there's a lot going on, a lot of fun to be had, and you need to get on out there and check it out on Saturday, December 16th, Santa Sack Fan Appreciation Event. And then, of course, on Sunday, Sunday, December 17th, they'll have a handicapping contest, and the finals will begin at 11 a.m. featuring Aqueduct. The winners will be paid the next day. So there's a lot happening, a lot going on. We're at MGM Northfield Park, and tell them Reghi and Roda sent you.
Looking for new insights on the Cleveland sports scene with a unique side of Cleveland sports history? Then you found the perfect podcast. I'm John Sable.
And I'm Scott Sable, and we're hosts of the Sable Brothers on the Baseline podcast, a podcast about Cleveland sports, but not your typical podcast about the land's sports teams. Join us as we embark on a journey of sharing a unique and historical side of Cleveland sports history with the help of some former Cleveland sports stars and other historical figures.
All right here on the Sable Brothers on the Baseline podcast, part of the Press Play Podcast Network.
And we continue with the R&R podcast here on the Press Play Podcast Network, produced by the best in the business, Ty Courts. Shout out to our title sponsor, MGM Northfield Park. Thank you for being on board for another year with us, Reg, and a good year so far for the Browns, 8-5. Control their playoff destiny, right? That's what you want at this point in the season. You control your own destiny, right?
Bottom line. Yeah, you just said it all right there. You are going to go into the third week of December with 4 football games left. That is what you want more than anything else. That you don't need any help from anybody. You take care of you, and they'll be there.
Reg, let's get into 2 things here in the second half of our pod today. MVP of this Browns football team. All right. Give me your 1, 2, and 3, or you can go 3, 2, 1, or as AC likes to say, 2, 3, 1. Whatever order you want to put them in. But, so give me who you think to this point in the season is the Browns MVP.
All right. Well, I'm going to go, like you just said, I'm going to go 3, 2, and 1. Okay. Right. Now, a couple of these, we'll see if they surprise you. Let me get your reaction. Number 3, Kenny, Jerome Ford.
Okay.
Look now, I mean, he's averaging better than 4 yards a carry. I'd like to see more than the 3 touchdowns, but Ken, right at 700 yards on the ground, okay? Right at 700 yards now with 4 football games left, so he could conceivably be a 1,000-yard guy, and I know now it doesn't mean as much as when it used to be 14 games. I get all that, but the bottom line is, I think with that devastating loss of Nick Chubb, Jerome Ford has really stepped it up. Number 2, another one you might laugh. Kenny, Martin Emerson, man. Martin Emerson. You know, he's got 4 picks. Wow. He's got 10 passes defended. I think he is a strong tackler coming out of the secondary. And again, for me, the 4 picks, though, and the 10 passes defended, and I think he's become a damn good cover guy. So I'm going to go Jerome Ford 3, Martin Emerson 2. And even though it's slowed down a little bit, hey, the 13 sacks, I still have to go with the way the defense played, and the ringleader of it was Myles Garrett, right? So those are my 3. And again, maybe the Ford and the Emersons might surprise a little bit, but if you look at it and really, pull back the pull back the screen, those two guys have been vital with injuries hurting the Browns in those two positions.
All right. I'm going to go the opposite direction. I'm going to give you my MVP. All right.
Okay. Yep.
And we used to joke about this when they stunk, when they were terrible, when they just came back, that the best player on the team, because everybody else sucked, was the field goal kicker, Phil Dawson, back in the day. Or if it wasn't Dawson, it was Chris Gardocki when he wasn't flipping off the Steelers bench and everything, right? It was one of those two, right? Well, Reg, where would this football team be without the kicker, Dustin Hopkins? Dustin Hopkins, to me, all right, is the most valuable player on this team, because I think instead of 8-5, without him, they'd be 5-8. I really believe that. And today was another case in point, as he nails a 55-yard field goal to make it a 2-score game. And boy, Stefanski showed confidence in him, right? He's 8 for 8 from beyond 50. Because if he misses that, guess what, Reg? That 1-score game, and you're giving them the ball at the 45-yard line. So that's a risk. And Stefanski rolled the dice, and Dustin Hopkins rewarded him. Reg, 31 made field goals already, and there's still 4 games left for Dustin Hopkins.
No argument from me. I like it. Yeah, you could make a case for Dustin Hopkins right up at the top. I agree with you.
And I know it sounds crazy to say the kicker has been the most, but to me, he has. I mean, his kickoffs, what were we worried about? 50-yard field goals, and does he have the leg to, kick it into the end zone? Yes and yes. Check. He's answered both of those questions and has provided 113 points, I believe, if my math is correct, this season for the Cleveland Browns through the first 13 games. So for me, Dustin Hopkins is my MVP to this point. He slightly edges out Myles Garrett simply because Garrett's, like you said, he's kind of, I can't use the term slacked off. That's not fair. He's playing injured, right? So he's out there giving it what he can, but he has been slowed by that injury. Hasn't had a sack in a couple of weeks. Yes, some pressures, still getting double teamed. I know he talked after the game today. He thinks it's a travesty how much he's getting held, and there are no calls from the officials and whatnot. But I mean, where would they be without him early on as they were trying to figure out who their running back was going to be, who their quarterback was going to be, right? The defense dominated, especially at home. So Dustin Hopkins, my MVP, Myles Garrett, my second guy. And I'm going to throw a guy in here that I think deserves some love, and he just got a new contract extension over the weekend. Grant Delpit has played, I thought, very good football for the Browns and deserved that contract extension. And he's one of the few guys that they drafted from LSU that actually has worked out for them. And so I'm going to give Grant Delpit some love. I know he left today with a groin injury. But let's hope it's not too serious. So I go the nice job, you effing kicker, Dustin Hopkins, number 1, Myles Garrett, number 2, and Grant Delpit, number 3, in my MVP votes for the Cleveland Browns so far.
I think all 6 guys we mentioned have been vital to every one of them, especially, again, given some of the key injury setbacks that the Browns have had to deal with. They've had these young guys, 3, 4 of them that you and I just mentioned together, that have really started to shine as they've been thrust into these roles. So, that's always huge for an NFL team that considers themselves a playoff, dare I say, championship ilk.
All right, Reg, the last thing we want to get into is the remaining schedule. Home Sunday, Chicago, at Houston, Christmas Eve. Thursday night primetime game against the New York Jets, Jets at home. And then they close it out on the road against Browning Nagel and the Cincinnati Bengals to determine, the playoff fate. What say you on the final 4 games? What when you look at this, do you see 2 wins, 3 wins, 4 wins with Joe Flacco being named now as the starting quarterback for the rest of this season?
I'm going 3-1, Kenny, as I alluded to, because that's going to put them in a real nice place, right? Given where they are right now at 8-5, 3 wins, you're 11-6. You could, again, as we said, probably not going to win the division,
Right.
With 2 games down on the Baltimore Ravens, but it could get them that first wild card seed, as we said, right? That
Sure.
5th seed, and then so. Kenny, I mean, if it stays this way, you mentioned it twice already. I love going to see the Jacksonville Jaguars again. Now, please don't get me wrong. Like I'm telling you, it's a guaranteed win. Well, no, of course not. But I like the fact that I think defensively, I would hope the Browns would be able to, seeing maybe, again, Trevor Lawrence in that offense, a month from now?
Yep.
I'd like their opportunity to go in there and win if that did happen to be that first round matchup as the 5th seed and the wild card.
I'm with you. I would like that matchup again as well. I know they don't play as well on the road, so they're going to have to figure that out, before the playoffs roll around. But the other thing I would like there is the elements wouldn't be a factor, right? You would think, unless there's a hurricane or something that's happening in Jacksonville. So I'm looking at the division: 10-3 Baltimore, 8-5 Cleveland, 7-6 Pittsburgh and Cincinnati. Okay.
Yeah.
Here's the division: 3-2 Baltimore, 3-2 Cleveland, and they split head to head against each other. Here's the conference: 6-3 Baltimore, 6-3. So, Reg, there's still a chance, right? You've got 3 of your last 4 against AFC opponents. Okay.
Yep.
One of them is a divisional opponent. So you got to make sure you win the Cincy game. You got to win the 3 AFC games, just in case somehow, some way you would end up tied with Baltimore for potential tiebreakers. Now, we mentioned who the Browns play. I'm looking at the Ravens schedule right now to close out the regular season. The Ravens are at Jacksonville, at San Francisco, Miami, and Pittsburgh. So, Reg, they're San Fran and Miami. Those are 2 losable games, right?
Yep.
Jacksonville's against the playoff team on the road. So they're going back-to-back road games the next 2 weeks. And then Miami and Pittsburgh at home to close it out. And the Steelers, that should be a sure win for them. That last game of the regular season is, Pittsburgh fans were booing the pants off of Mitch Trubisky and Mike Tomlin the other night as they lost back-to-back games to 2-10 teams. But they've got Baltimore's got to navigate through at Jacksonville, at San Fran, and then home against Miami, Reg. So you're saying there's a chance, maybe, right?
Well, I'm going to say, and listen, I got a lot of respect for John Harbaugh and his football team. They're damn good.
Yep.
But Kenny, I can see a 2-2 there to finish it out.
Sure.
Huh? Can't you?
Yeah.
See a 2-2, and that would put them at at 12-5?
12-5.
If they go 2-2,
yeah.
You'd love to say, well, man, could it be 1-3? Well, it could, but I can see 2-2 as a possibility, and that depends too when we go back. For example, how much do San Francisco and Miami want those games, right? See, that's always the factor that you got to throw in there.
Right.
I think you said they'll go to San Francisco in 2 weeks.
Yep.
And then they're home for Miami.
And home for Pittsburgh.
Yeah. So, I mean, how San Francisco and Miami certainly, and Jacksonville too, certainly could beat the Baltimore Ravens on when they meet them. But again, what does the game mean? And especially the San Francisco and Miami, who we know are looking like going to be not only, in the playoffs, but division winners, right?
Well, Reg, think about this. Both Miami and San Fran could be playing for the number 1 seed in their conference. So those games both are going to be huge to those 2 teams, as will they be to the Baltimore Ravens, who are playing for the number 1 seed, right? That tiebreaker. I mean, if, Miami meets up with Baltimore and beats Baltimore, that could, I don't know what the tiebreaker rules are, but I got to think head-to-head's in there somewhere.
It is.
But so, I mean, it's going to be, meaningful games in the month of December and January. You've settled on a quarterback, right? And you control your own destiny. Can't ask for more than that right now with this Browns team with all the injuries.
Wouldn't we have said that? As August turned into September, if you're saying on, December the 10th with 4 games to go, this is what you're looking at. Well, everybody would sign up for that and say, bring it on. Let's go.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, hey, good day for the Browns. A must win from the standpoint of an AFC opponent, a home game. You had to end a 2-game losing streak, which they did. They get the win. Flacco cements himself as the starter. And now they have a very winnable game at home against the Chicago Bears next week, Reg. And we'll be back on the R&R podcast to break that sucker down afterwards. And I feel pretty good if I'm the Browns. Back-to-back home games. I'm 6-1. I'm looking to go 8-1 at home this year because they get that 9th game, right? That extra game at home this season. And when you are better at home, that always helps the overall record out. So things are moving in the right direction for Kevin Stefanski. And let's give him some credit today. 4th and 3. He dialed up that play to David Bell today. That turned out to be the big play.
Huh? Running down the sidelines.
How about that? Some emotion from Stefanski. Where did that come from?
A lot of emotion running down the sidelines and, celebrating the TD throw to David Bell. So, yeah, Kenny, look, I mean, it's going to be a lot of fun. We'll have R&R all dialed up and ready to go, and I look forward to it when we get together after this meeting with the Bears at home, Ken.
Absolutely. And just like we all predicted, everybody did, Joe Flacco leading the Browns to the playoffs in 2023, baby. Reg, always a pleasure. We'll see how Mr. Flacco does next week, and we'll talk about it on the R&R podcast here on the Press Play Podcast Network, powered by MGM Northfield Park.